What's up there, Workforce? Chris here with Work2Game, and it is time to talk about a Requiem for Heroes, patch 4.5, what is going to be like a whole content cycle starting January 8th of 2019. Now, this is a 3.5-hour live letter, so if you wonder why Brian watched it live this morning and I'm the one doing the summary, is because 3.5 hours is a preposterous amount of content, and at some point he had to get back through his day. Now, part 2 of this is going to be coming out late March 2019, so we don't know kind of what that looks like, but talking about everything that's going to happen here. So we have new main story, we have new side story, we have our new dungeon, the Gimlet Dark, we have our new trial against Siru, the new Alliance raid, which is the final in that series, the Orboin Monastery. We're finishing up Eureka with the 4th act, the Hydros, that they showed us pictures of at FanFest. There's going to be PvP updates around Rival Wings and the Hidden Gorge, which isn't added until 4.55. There is a ton of information on Blue Mage, and then honestly, one of the big things here is the server migration. Now, the way I'm reading this is it sounds like we're getting a bunch of content in 4.5, so they know that people are going to be logged in. Then in 4.56 is when they're going to do the server migration for the North American and European data centers that are getting that new additional data center. So everybody's going to move over, and then the world visit system is going to be pushed out to that 4.57 and 4.58, depending on, I read the translation a little differently there. It looked like 4.57, but after they kind of have the initial population settle, then they'll push out a patch that allows us to start mucking with it again. This does mean that since the world visit system isn't in, that during some of these content cycles, you on congested servers will not have it available to you, but this is one of the last times that you'll have hopefully that wait time. Hopefully this world visit system, once implemented, makes 5.0 run so much better when paired with the new data centers. We're also getting some Golden Saucer updates. We're going to get Domain Mahjong, so for those of you that are huge fans of Mahjong, if you don't know what it is, it's a 4-player like race around completing tiles. I encourage you to go out there and try to find like a browser copy or an app or something like that and see if that's something that interests you before it launches. We're getting the Newgate Air Force One that they went over at the live letter, and then we're getting a new custom deliveries client. There is a absolute ridiculous amount of content here, and among that we're getting job adjustments. So Monk, Machinist, White Mage, you guys are getting what look to be just buffs across the board, potency changes for 4.5. Now, they have big mechanics changes planned for class balancing in 5.0, and obviously they have to hold off to do that until 5.0. So, with these buffs in mind, they said keep in mind that even in the classes that got buffed, it is possible that when 5.0 rolls, you feel that some of those abilities got nerfed and some of those abilities got buffed even more. Just keep in mind that the 5.0 class balance changes have nothing to do with the state of the game now. And so, you know, don't put too much stock in, oh, I see them making this change. Obviously, that means they're going this way in 5.0. They're trying to warn you, don't be upset if you think that and you want that, and then that's not what ends up happening. So then they went over Siru a little bit more, and they showed us kind of some of the fight. They talked about Mahjong for a long time. For the sake of time today, I'm going to say just it's Mahjong. It looks like it could be one of the better ways to play Mahjong. Hopefully that's something that breathes more life into Golden Saucer. That's always what I want. I was hoping for Blitzball, but you know, it is what it is. And so that's just the core content there. So to refresh on that timeline, we're going to have 4.5 drop in January 8th. And then we know roughly how many weeks, so you can try to gauge when 4.55 will drop in March. Then we're going to play through all this content that got added. You're going to beat Mahjong, you're going to beat the new trial, you're going to beat the Alliance raid, you're going to finish your Eureka, and you're going to level Blue Mage, and all of that. And then in 4.55, which we are going to find out sometime in late March or later, we are going to have the data center reshuffle that affects so much of you guys that are listening here. And then we are going to then after that add the world visit system. So there is a constant number of changes. So absolutely feel free to come back here, ask questions in the comments, watch our videos. There's going to be a ton of stuff coming out with constant changes between here and the expansion. So for those of you that have not taken your break between now and January 8th, feel free to take a break from this game, because when 4.5 drops, it feels like it's going to be a constant wave of content all the way through the expansion. Depending on what parts of the game you like, I don't see how I'm going to be able to put the game game down. So I'm going to probably not log in again other than maybe once this week to just kind of clean up some retainer stuff. And then I'm going to take a break until January 8th because this is a lot. So the new gate looks fun, all of that, and I think it's time that we start to talk a little bit about Blue Mage. Now, once you talk to the guy, you get your quest, you become your Blue Mage, you get the book. Yoshida recommends you put the book in a macro so it opens. Okay, I don't know why that's not thought out better. If he already thinks you have to have a macro for it, that's weird. Just keep in mind that the book has all the abilities in it. They showed that off at FanFest, but they are not in any particular order necessarily. So you do not have to learn them in order. You do not expect them to be in order based on difficulty or order based on potency or anything like that. I'm sure there's a method to it. Once you see all of them, you might gather that. But he just said, like, don't think, oh my gosh, I have number 1. Now I got to find number 2. That's not the point here. It did show off a new mount that's a glowing cactar. It's flight capable, obtainable from the Golden Saucer. So that's kind of a weird way to show this off. And so what they talk about is that you go out to learn these, and the only thing you know is a hint. So when you mouse over it in there, it'll say like hint. You're going to learn this from Bravelock's Longstop hard. That's your only hint. You are encouraged to do most of your leveling out in the public fields. So hopefully there is a ton of these monsters out in the public fields. Hopefully you have like a hunting log out in the public fields. All these things that kind of encourage you to be out there enjoying the open world, which is something we've talked about for a very long time, wanting an excuse to do. Now here it is. Now when you learn a new skill, your little menu up at the top is going to get a green dot next to the page that it appears on, since it's not in any particular order. And you're going to go click to that page, and then you're going to be able to see that ability and it's going to have it on there, and you can drag it onto your active actions. You can have 24 active actions, which is a huge rotation. So hopefully there's some in there that are just utility, since we have a lot more room than we need. So you drag it onto the action bar, and then that's going to allow you to have save that to that preset. You're going to have 5 presets or builds. So when you have one that you know is DPS, and then you have one that you have is some weird, like maybe there's a healer one possible. We still don't know what all is possible, but if you want to experiment with it, if you think about it, 5 is plenty that you should have room, at least at the beginning, to experiment. I'm sure at some point people will ask for more. But we have things also, like they started to talk about bad breath, is poison, 10% damage dealt down, 40% heavy, slow, darkness, paralysis. It lasts 15 seconds. It also silences them for 1 second. So they started to reveal kind of some of the abilities and things like that. They did a ton of demonstration, if you will. So most of this wasn't really done through slides. It was all done through play. So there should be a ton of Twitch clips and stuff out there to just go and kind of seek out all of it if you missed it. They also showed another new mount. It looked like a red Fenrir. So as they were kind of doing this, it was a chance to show off all kinds of things. I'm really excited. They have a new opacity effect that they were showing off on the UI, so that they could kind of leave things up. And they have a green line on the slider, and that's just your recommended opacity, so that you can kind of leave this stuff up and see things, but then still be out there playing, because I think more and more there's going to be UI elements that we want to have open while we're out running. They showed off water cannon. I mean, honestly, the number of abilities they showed off, we could talk about in a whole nother video, and I probably will. So the big thing here is we got a bunch more about Blue Mage. We know that it's int based. We know that it's calculated different than Summoner, Red Mage, and Black Mage. The damage is not based on your weapon damage, but is based on your armor and accessories. So Blue's damage is gonna be weird. We know that. We knew that this job wasn't going to function like other jobs. That's one of the reasons they're keeping it out of Duty Finder. It is possible that there are people out there that are just bad Blue Mages, and that's fine. If they're having fun and they're clearing the content they want to clear, then they can just do that, even though objectively they can be so far off of whatever we've learned is more optimal. It doesn't matter. Now, when you're out grinding, you want to grind together. You are encouraged to go to Fates because of the mobs they spawn. If you're running a party like 4, everybody learns the skill. Now that doesn't give you 4 roll chances at the skill, but that does give you, if I learn it, then the 3 people with me learn it. And the reason that's a big deal is 4 people clear things faster. Only 1 person has to tag it prior to the skill being shown, and then they can all melt it down. So you all tag one, you pull them together, and then as soon as the skill goes, you number that one, you blow it down. Then you blow it on the next one, you blow it on the next one. That's 4 shots. The reason that's faster is that now you have the benefit of running in a 4-man, and in this example, and you don't have to worry about the amount of time that you lose between when the first person in the group learns it and the last person in the group learns it, where there's technically people in there that are killing things that they don't have to kill because they're done, just to get the other person out with them. So that should keep you guys together, encourage you to run as a group. Powerful Blue Mage is going to cost a ton of MP, so devising your rotation and stuff is going to be complex. So I think playing in a group will also help you kind of say, hey, I'm trying this, I'm learning this, since there aren't really like job quests and it's just these skills learned. And so your rotation is not even something that there can really be a guide for on the way, because it's a question of which abilities do you have. There's going to be people out there that are like, oh, I love this ability behind this one, and it's like, well, I'm missing one of those. They also showed off the Masked Carnival a little bit. Basically, you're going to go into Ul'dah, you're going to talk to a masked NPC, and there's going to be a spherical stage. There's going to be various stages, various different phases, and different objectives. Your goal is to kind of eventually clear all of those, and it'll tell you what type of enemy they are, what type of resistances they have. So it seems a lot on like, you have to get all the abilities if you want to clear all the stages. Whether or not those abilities are used in the open world, there's at least going to be the ability to use them once to kind of clear a stage. So it's meant to be kind of this puzzle and this thing to solve. I'm sure there will be a ton of guides on it. I'm sure Brian and I will end up making guides on it. At the top right, it's going to show your record time. You're going to gain rewards depending on your record time. So it seems like even once you clear it once, you may be able to get more rewards if you kind of unlock that, if you think of like a gold, silver, bronze type thing. And that they talked about like learning rates with parties. A 30% chance is still a 30% chance, but that different chances are for different abilities. So I know I'm kind of jumping around here. They were all over the map in showing just how much information they could tell us about Blue Mage in one sitting. That's probably a good place to kind of wrap it up on Blue Mage. We'll end up making a second video where we dive deeper on just that. So if that's what you want to see, keep an eye out for that, because it was a huge chunk of the live letter, and I want to keep this really nice and short. They talked about a few other things, like G-Pose is going to have a manual focus, and you have like wet mode and stuff like that. So hopefully you can get some better screenshots where you're really excited about how your character looks. There's some new emotes. There's going to be a bunch of new mounts. Just in general, there's change in how interactable housing things work. Currently you see them like dropping in and out, and so they don't display properly all the time, so they're increasing things like furniture precision and all that. So they announced the year-end Mahjong celebrating the release of Doman Mahjong, so they're going to have an event on Sunday, December 2nd. Seems like that could be something really fun to watch. They're going to be giving away the tiles in Japan. Hopefully that's something that we can get our hands on here in the US, if that's something that's big to you. And they will be doing a 4.5 patch note reading scheduled for Monday, January 7th. So it will be in Japanese only, so you'll once again have to come back here for the translation. I imagine Brian and I will cover that. We're usually pretty good about covering just about everything they put out, at least that's in Japanese only. They're also having a chicken nuggets celebration. I assume that's going to be bound to just kind of their place. They have that like fancy store where they have all these cool like themed foods. It makes me want to go to Japan at least once. Now they're doing a wedding collab between 14 and Deuce Zero. So I guess they've been getting a lot of fan requests for that. So if you want to hold a wedding, you can consider that collaboration. We're also getting a 2-disc arrangement of all their piano stuff. If you're into 14 and you love their music, I think they may have one of the best soundtracks across their game of any MMO out on the market today. Probably the best, just period. On March 6th, that will be on sale, so keep an eye out for that. And then, of course, they talked about the Primals having kind of their tour and stuff, and they were selling the disc. They talked about that at FanFest. And then they showed a screenshot of the Dragon Quest team. This is a big deal. 14 and Dragon Quest builders are developed under the same business division, so I would love to see like a more formal collab that takes place in a big way during 5.0, but they just kind of showed off that because that's exciting. FanFest Japan merchandise pre-orders is out there, so for any of you that plan on going to that, if you're ticketless, you can also purchase stuff. So that's kind of it, and that is the end. So that is kind of the big thing. That is the huge amount of information they gave us today. Now, they did spend 3.5 hours going over this, so I flew through it, and so hopefully that made sense. If I missed anything for any of you kind of watching it, feel free to ask down below if you have questions. I would love to go back and kind of go over it with you. I know Brian also probably caught some things that maybe I missed, and then I need to basically right now record another video talking just about Blue Mage, diving in a little bit more on all the things we learned there. So hopefully this makes a lot more sense on what you expect to see between 4.5 and 5.0. I expect us to still get a lot more information around like what the second half brings us in March. So I think that they're doing a live patch notes reading for a reason. I think there's a lot more that they need to tell us about Blue Mage and kind of make sure that our expectations are as clear and concise as possible so that none of us are just utterly confused or disappointed on launch. I think it could have a chance to really drastically change this game, and I'm excited about it. So January 8th, this is the final summary here. January 8th, we're getting patch 4.5. That's MSQ, story, raid, trial, PvP, golden saucer, custom deliveries. A week later, we're going to add Blue Mage. Okay, it doesn't sound like it's going to be available on launch, but it's not long after. So basically clear all that stuff, but it sounds like Blue Mage could be up to a week later. Some places in here I read that it was dropping as part of the 4.5 delivery, and sometimes it sounded like it was up to a week later. 4.55, we're going to have roughly a month. That'll be when we get our half patch stuff. So that'll be the Hidden Gorge, the Eureka Hydatos. So for those of you that are worried about balancing Eureka and Blue Mage, push your Blue Mage through and you'll be done with that. 4.56, we're going to have more MSQ, Hildebrand, and somewhere around there is we're going to be doing the data center reshuffle. 4.57 is the world visit system. There's supposed to be a 4.58. They mentioned it, but I don't know if that was just confusion with 4.57. And then we talk about, by that point, we're talking about 5.0. So along with the Hildebrand, we also got our new Beast Tribe quests. So I think that's about it. That's our Vieira. So that, I believe, is the ultimate summary of 3.5 hours. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Chris with Work to Game. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time.
Oh, excuse me. What's up, workforce? Chuck here, telling you should totally like, favorite, subscribe, share, dance, raise your hands in the air. I'm off camera. I'm off frame. I'm new at this. Hey, listen. Yes. You haven't hit that subscribe button. You totally should. I recommend it. Chuck approved. Anyway, also, thanks to all the Patreons. You're in the corners. Whoa!